The Ed Bernstein Show. Now, here's Ed.
That old black man had in his spell.
That old black magic that weaves so well.
I see fingers up and down my spine.
That same old witchcraft when your eyes meet mine.
Say like a rainy night and candlelight. Ooh, it's so romantic.
Well, I guess it's not a surprise who my guests are today. Clint Holmes and Mrs. Clint Holmes, Kelly Clinton Holmes. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Welcome. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've been thinking about this all night. It's got to be the dumbest joke ever.
Okay.
But if you would have taken her last name, you would have been Clinton.
Yeah, Clint
I'm
Clinton.
sure it came into your mind at one time or another.
Oh yeah, and
yeah.
we like it sometimes
Oh,
as we're checking in for a flight, they'll go, wait a minute, you have 2 tickets for Clinton Holmes. Oh no, it's Kelly Clinton Holmes and Clinton. Yeah, it can get confusing.
It does get confusing.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You know, look, I knew you were coming on the show, so I was doing some research. And I'm looking through old articles and stories, and every time I see Clinton, I'm getting confused. A Clint or
Right.
Clinton,
Yeah.
or who are we talking about here?
Well, when they write articles and they'll say Holmes when it's Clint,
Right.
and then for me it says Clinton Holmes says, and I'm like, wait, I'm not Clinton Holmes. But they're just anyway. So I'm hyphenated, and I lucked out because I didn't have to give up my maiden name, but caused confusion.
You
didn't
would
I?
never have to give up your maiden name.
Well, thanks.
No, you're an
man, but-
entertainer. You're independent and all
but
that.
I loved hyphenating.
So you hyphenate, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a bad word right now
Oh, yeah?
for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
You
She's
know,
hyphenated?
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny, babe, because when they introduce you as Kelly Clinton now,
Right.
because it's still people say
Yeah.
Kelly
Right, yeah,
Clinton,
yeah, right.
it doesn't sound right anymore.
It feels wrong, but it's my professional name.
Okay.
So did you have that conversation when you got married?
Oh, yeah.
Did we?
Oh, sure.
Well, we talked about the irony of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for us to find each other in life, and I've never been married. I was almost married, but we don't talk about that. No.
Right.
But I waited, and then
You
when
waited
we
for
got
Clint?
together, I waited
Yes.
for Clint. I didn't know I was waiting for Clint, but
but you found out later. How did you meet?
we met through our best friends.
Bill Fane.
Actually,
Was it a blind date kind
no,
of
we
thing,
were
or-
friends for
We
a
were
few
friends.
years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Before
We
we were
were
more than
we were buddies,
friends.
just like that entertainment community thing where they're hanging out, going have
But
a
you
drink
met-
after
you
the
met in
show
Vegas?
In Vegas.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bill Fane was Clint's musical director for 35 years.
Right.
Best friend since college, and Lena Prima is my best friend since high school. And they met, and then Lena took me to the show. And we all used to hang around, like you
So
said.
you went to high school with Lena?
I did. Went to Clark High School, and we were in the music department.
And her dad was performing here at the time?
He was
Yeah.
already gone, so I met her about a year after her dad passed. So we kind of bonded through music and dance, and we were the choreographers for our pop vocal group in high school, and then we stayed friends for forever.
Did you grow up I know Clint's parents, had a lot of skills. Did you grow up with musically inclined or comedic inclined parents?
Comedic inclined, but not professionally. They were just crazy.
Funny people.
Funny people,
Really?
sense of humor, my whole family. But no, my parents weren't in the entertainment business, but they're very entertaining.
What did your dad do for a living?
My dad was actually in construction. He helped, I'm kind of proud of this, he helped build the Twin Towers. So his
In New
family,
York?
yeah.
Okay,
So
wow.
I was born in New Jersey. So
Okay.
then he passed away when I was very young. That's what Lena and I both had in common. We both lost our fathers when we were young and bonded over that. And my mom is the strongest person I know, and I do her as a character in my show. So they brought me humor with their personalities over the years. So, but I didn't come from a musical family. But everyone's a ham.
And in your family too. I mean, you like to say that your dad was a black jazz musician, your mom was a white opera star.
singer, right?
Right.
And both my sister and I sing.
So how does that define you? If you had to characterize yourself between opera and jazz, what would
I
you say?
honestly think both are in effect, but I would go closer to jazz. you know, I think as I grew up and started to really appreciate quote unquote great music, most of it falls into that world, you know. But I mean, sometimes I look at lists of jazz singers and they list people like Sinatra, who really wasn't a jazz singer. He was a crooner, but he sang the Great American Songbook.
Right.
And a lot of jazz singers sing the Great American Songbook. So I think it gets squished together. But for me, I mean, I started playing in lounges, you know, and playing Tom Jones music and you know, and stuff. And that, because that's what the people, quote unquote, wanted and where I was. But as I began to be able to do what I wanted to do musically, I found myself falling into
And what was
world.
that you wanted to do?
Everything. Unfortunately or fortunately. Yeah, I mean, I love theater, I love Broadway. So, you know, you'll always find some theater stuff in my show. I do love jazz, but not esoteric jazz, you know, approachable, great jazz music. And I write a lot.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff I do is our original material.
And growing up, you grew up in the New York area.
Buffalo.
Oh.
But the Buffalo, New
Oh,
York
I
area.
thought you were closer to Broadway.
No. Grew up
Oh, so
upstate New York.
You're in the cold world.
Oh,
You're in the
absolutely.
hockey world.
Well, yeah, with
Yeah.
the Shintas,
Yeah.
you know, I knew them
Yeah.
long
Oh, that's
before,
right, yeah.
long before either one of us moved out here. They were friends back in Buffalo. Yeah, yeah. That's where my dad was in the Army, and after the war, after World War II, he brought Mom and I over to the States, and we lived in what is called the Willard Park Housing Project, which was the first housing project built for GIs, especially black GIs when they came back from the war. So that's where we lived in Buffalo for, I guess, till I was about in second grade. And then we moved out to a small town because it was easier for interracial marriage in those days was pretty tough in a city. So we moved out to a little sleepy town where at least it was safe. Yeah.
How has that impacted your life?
Which part of it?
Growing up in a biracial family.
Incredibly, and I examine it more and more. I think the real impact was that something that we all share in our lives is where do we fit? You know, we all,
Yeah,
especially
right,
growing
yeah.
up, am I the brainiac? Am I the athlete? Where? That was my thing. Is kind of where do I fit? And I was mainly growing up in an area that was totally white, Italian, Polish, you know, and my sister and I were the odd ones out almost everywhere until we left, until I was in the Army. When I went in the Army, the whole world opened up. You know what I mean? So for a long time, the journey was, well, where do I fit?
You found people like you? Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
I thought, well, if you really want me to get into it for a second, what I was an African American kid who had the dominant person in my family was my mom. So I was British in certain ways. You know, my dad worked 3 jobs. He took care of the family. He wasn't the one who was going to sit down and talk to you about a lot of stuff. So my mom was the one who talked about a lot of stuff. A simple version of that is when when Martin Luther King was marching and all that stuff was going on, my dad didn't really want to talk about it. My mom talked about it from the point of view that anyone would. Oh my God, that's horrible. You know, that's terrible. But not from the black point of view. So I didn't get that until I went out in the world. And in the Army, when I was in the Army, it was Black Power was happening, and I had to kind of figure out where did I fit in all this, you know?
And this was about the same time that Ali was also
Sure,
being
all that was
drafted,
this was
Cassius Clay days.
all that, yeah,
Yeah.
early 70s, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
You know, so the way that Mom and Dad and growing up in the way that we did really impacted me was I had to figure out where I fit. And that meant on stage, that meant what music I sing, that meant how I live my life when I had kids, how do I teach them? And of course, my first wife was African American, so she was great with the kids in terms, especially culturally, because she understood all that. She had that background.
Are you a different kind of father than what your father was to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
You-
yeah.
You talk to your kids.
You know, my relationship with my kids is better now than I think it's ever been. When my ex-wife and I separated, a friend of mine said, here's what's going to happen. Your kids will be upset first, and then they're going to understand that you are 2 separate people, and they can have relationships with both of you individually. And what's going to happen is you're going to spend more one-on-one time with your kids. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And now my relationship with my kids is great, and they
Very
love
close.
Kelly.
Yeah.
They adore her. So it's
They
good.
actually want to hang out with us.
Oh, they do. They want to hang out with you. They want. They
Who would blame them?
yeah, right.
And what do you have coming up? I know you're busy over at the Composer Room, downtown Las Vegas.
I'm doing, actually it's on Sahara, and it's the Composer's Room. Damien Costa has built this beautiful showroom, and actually there are 2 showrooms, and they have great food and drink, and the stage is perfect for what I love to do. We do a variety show. Would you call it a variety
Yeah, I
show?
would.
So I have special guests and a great band, and every week we have new guests and create a new show, and then I usually do some kind of a sketch comedy character.
It's a lot of work. I mean, you combine the comedy and the singing and the characters and the interviews and everything else.
Yes, and I love it. It's,
Which part of that do you enjoy the most?
Well, I grew up. I'm looking at myself as Wayne Newton on the
Oh,
camera.
okay, yeah,
and then this was last week.
Listen to this for a minute.
So that happened. Oh my goodness, that happened.
How did you come about choosing Wayne Newton to
Well,
imitate?
that's easy because I grew up, I moved here when I was 12 years old with my family, and I was excited because I was going to, be in the city where all the headliners that I grew up watching,
right,
yeah.
So, because you also do Elvis, right?
I do.
Now, was Elvis still, he was alive at that time, right?
He was alive when I first moved here, but then within about 6 months, I was just talking to some Elvis impersonator, Elvis lovers last night, and Elvis passed away about 6 months into it, so I didn't get to see him live, but through Wayne Newton, who I met, that's another story, and you probably don't have time for it. I met him when I was 22, and I sat in with a band while Wayne was in the audience, and then he called me over and said, "If I knew you did that, Kelly, I would have pulled you on my stage tonight." And so then he invited me to be a part of the Elvis 10-year anniversary of his death. With Colonel Parker produced it. James Burton was on, all the, several band members that played with Elvis. The Jordanaires were on. And he had me as an audience autograph seeker. He set the whole thing up. And I was with bows in my hair, 22, and asking for an autograph. Security came out to get me because I climbed up on the stage. He told me just when to do it. And he said, "Just trust me." And then he asked, "You want an autograph?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "So I should put it to Kelly?" And he said, "No." I said, "It's for my grandmother." I guess he did this kind of a thing with Jack Benny and mentors of his. So then all of a sudden he asked me to hold the gold microphone, and the 30-piece orchestra burst into Jailhouse Rock, and I do my thing. So Wayne has been a huge mentor in my life. And then I worked with him for a while, for a couple of years. We did that special. But then I started to work on the voice, and then I started doing the costume after I wasn't working with him anymore. He knows I do that, and he called me on his stage once or twice, but never in full costume. That was Johnny Catt's birthday. It was at the Composer's Room. And he agreed to, and he came out and tapped me on the shoulder, and it was a dream come true.
It's a thrill for her.
And he has such a great sense of humor. So, anyway, that's how that came about.
Did I ever get you to answer the question about which genre you preferred? The comedy.
You never got me to do that.
Because he broke away into the video.
Okay, back to that.
Back to that. I mean, so you grew up in Las Vegas, so that was obviously an influence. I mean, because you met people like Joan Rivers and Don Rickles.
Yes.
I mean, is that how you
worked with all
developed
those
the comedic side of you?
I developed it because even back in New Jersey when I was a little girl, I saw the Carol Burnett show. And other
Classic,
variety
right? Yeah.
shows, but Carol Burnett, it was like I was a shy little kid, and I just said, this is what I want to do. So when I got into in Las Vegas, there were more opportunities in school, Clark High School, where we could do the music or the theater. But I always did, if I got a role in a play, I said, "Can I make it a big fat suit, or can I, can I put a mustache on?" So I just always was drawn to the characters because of my influence of sketch comedy.
Who's your favorite character to do?
Of mine?
Yes.
well, Wayne's one of my top. But the Elvis that you mentioned is a character I created called Kelvis. And I made up a whole backstory, and I actually performed somewhere last night and I have two Elvis suits. But I like
The punchline is?
The punchline is that I'm Anne Margaret and Elvis's love child, Kelvis.
Oh, okay.
So it's a combination.
That kind of works.
Yeah. And the other character is a character I created called JoJo Spaghetti Moretti, who's like from back in the day of Sinatra, and I'm in full garb with the...
The funny thing about this character, it's an old Italian trumpet player who was a mentor, and she goes...
A mentor to
her.
Kelly.
And she goes in full, and Rich Little was at the show one night, and we're sitting there, and she's doing the character, and he's laughing, and he's having a great time, and then at the end of it, she takes the wig off, and he goes, "That's Kelly." And I go, "Oh, yeah, that's Kelly, that's right."
So that's an alter ego, and the Moretti is my mother's maiden name. So anyway, I get nervous when I'm doing just regular singing, and we do it all the time, but when I say, "Is there a wig involved?"
Yeah.
Or, a gag. So I love that.
You two often sing together?
Yeah, we do. In fact, in the last year we started the idea of actually doing an act together. I mean, the difference in getting her, she's in my show sometimes, and I'll jump up on stage in her show sometimes, but to actually put an evening together of material that makes sense for us to sing and gives room for me to do my thing and her to do her thing, that's what we're working on now.
So
One of the
what
things.
happens, like, during the day, you get into a little spiff, get a little argument, and you got to perform that night together on stage.
That never happens.
Never?
We never, ever.
Well,
Like earlier before the show when he put his gum into my tissue that I was going to get.
Was that annoying?
I think ultimately, one of the things that attracted us to each other way back when is our sense of humor, and I think ultimately that wins.
Yeah,
that
we
wins,
laugh a lot. Or if we do have a disagreement, it goes through a process, and then one or the other goes, "You know what? Maybe I can see my part of it." And we can't wait to make up because that's my best friend. We're best friends.
Ever go for therapy?
We haven't. No, we haven't.
Maybe we should.
This
is too
I'm
good.
suggesting. I don't know.
This
you
is too
You
good.
both look very happy to me.
No,
We enjoy
we're
it.
very lucky. We're lucky we found each other, and this is 18 years of
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
You have that
Flies
kind of
by very-
relationship.
Yes,
We're
in
best
fact,
friends.
yes. In fact, there's just a lot of similarities between the two of you and my wife and I. You are always keeping busy, always creating, always growing, always changing. What are you working on now?
Three projects. Well, I mean, I'm at Myron's. That's my home.
Right.
You know, in
So
terms.
how often are you there?
I'm there 6-8 times a year, something like that, right? I'll be there. The next one is May 9th, which is my birthday. I'm doing I try to get at least one show around my birthday there, so I can have fun. And they always want a title for the show, you know. And I just did my James Taylor and Joni Mitchell show. It's two my
Love it.
favorite.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Both of them.
and it's great. Yeah, so I just did that. So the May show, they said, "What's the title?" And I kind of want to say, "It's my birthday. I'll sing whatever I want."
And here
I
you
like
have a little
that a
bit of
lot.
it.
Yeah, I don't know which show that was. But
It's just use me. Come on and use me up. Looking back on when I was a little nappy-headed boy. Yeah, you and I. Don't cry out loud. Keep it inside. Just learn how to hide your feelings. And I wish those days would come back. Oh, those days could come back once more.
That's it.
Well,
A few different things I did.
different.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah, but we were talking before the show about as you get older, how your voice changes.
Yeah.
Now, your hair changed a little.
A lot.
And your beard.
That's when we were all off for the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I went, I like it. And more importantly, she liked it.
Yeah.
Well, looks
I
great.
like it a lot.
Yeah.
But your voice has changed, if anything, for the better.
I think, yeah, I think so. And I know for sure that my interpretation of lyrics has gotten better because I understand them more and I take more time. You know, I pick songs that move me and this sounds so technical, internalize them. Why am I singing it? What does it mean to me? Why should you want to hear it? All of those things go into it. So I think that when I'm singing songs now, they mean more to me and thereby mean more to the audience. That's a growth thing.
You think it's a passion?
It is. It is a
works?
passion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a great director that I got to work with named Larry Moss. I got to work with him because we were doing a project, but every night he would see my show. And every night we would have a drink afterwards and we would talk about what he saw and, and how I could be better. And I'll just tell you one thing. One of the things that we singers do is we tend to hold things in. You see a singer like this, sometimes it's like they're a little bit protecting their heart, right? You see a person with hands clenched, that's holding emotion in. There's a lot of that going on.
Body
Right?
language.
Body language, right?
Yeah.
Well, one night he said to me, I was singing What Kind of Fool Am I? Sammy Davis song. And he said, tomorrow night when you sing it, pay attention to your left hand because you're holding back something with your left hand.
Ooh.
I said, what are you talking about? So the next night, I said, oh, I am. And I let go of it and I could hardly control the emotion. And that night, everything changed for that song. And so I'm a student of that now, and I teach. You know, I work with younger performers and try to give them the stuff that I've been taught. So vocally, I had a great teacher, my mother. You know, my mother was my first teacher.
And your mom like sang till a very old age.
That's right. Yeah, my mom at 90 would come to my show and give her the mic and try to get it out of her hands. You know, it's like, she loved it.
Don't make me sing.
Yeah, don't make me sing.
Give me that microphone.
You know, but that was. I say this. My mom taught me. I learned how to sing from both parents. My mom taught me how to sing correctly. My dad taught me how to enjoy it. It's
Wow.
you know, I got it
I like
from
that.
both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the first song you did sing?
Ever?
Yeah, that you
I
remember.
led the
Yeah.
March of the Wooden Soldiers when I was in fourth or fifth grade, in a red satin suit that my mother made. And then I sang, I was walking along my orange-colored sky, out of an orange sky, when I was about 10, because I learned to tap dance and sing that song. You know, so I mean.
But wait, there's one more.
Wait.
In kindergarten. You
In
asked the
kindergarten, I
teacher.
sang "Here Comes Peter Cottontail."
He asked to do
I
it.
asked to
Down the
sing
Boney
it.
Trail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. I did do that. Yeah. And that was partly because I was the kid that got beat up. I was the kid that was bullied, because it was a very homogeneous area. You know, it was like I said, Italians, Polish
You were
kids,
the different
and I was
guy.
the kid, the
Yeah.
different kid.
Yeah.
And I already knew that I could sing because my mother told me that. And so I don't know. One day I said, "Can I sing?" And I sang "Here Comes Peter Cottontail," and the kids applauded. And I went, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and that
went
probably
flames.
was the start of the idea that
Yeah.
this is where I fit.
Do you still get nervous, or do you get nervous when you
No.
perform?
I only get nervous if I feel unprepared. If I don't feel like I'm ready. I mean, there's been some big, wonderful openings in my life in the past few years. The first time I played New York at Lincoln Center. The first time I played Monte Carlo. Blah blah blah. You get nervous because it's new. It's
different.
and it's big.
They're not familiar.
And they're not familiar, right? But nervousness is excitement. And nervous is there because you want to succeed.
That's true. Yeah.
Because you want to be good.
The adrenaline, you can channel it positive, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
How
And
about you,
sometimes
Kelly?
you
I
do that
get,
too.
Oh my goodness, I get crazy. I drive everybody crazy around me. I go, oh, what was I thinking? What am I doing? I'm not prepared for that. And then I go out there, and then I can't stop. And then it passes, and I go ham bone out.
So as soon as you start, it goes on
Like,
autopilot,
as soon as I
right?
get out there,
Yeah.
it's like, okay. And then it comes in the things that I was worried about, just, and he always says, I trust you. You should stop worrying about it. Just but the nerves won't go away from me.
I'm her biggest fan. And
I
and
can
the
see that.
And
I'm
the
your
reason is
biggest
not just because I love her and she's my wife and my best friend. All of that. The fact is, she's so talented, in ways that she's discovering now more than before because she's able at the composer's room to do her own thing. I'm going to put a wig on and I'm going to play the part of blah 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 blah. And she's not afraid. She's not afraid if it's not going well at the beginning. I think that amuses her, and she just keeps going. It's great. And I sit out there, and people tell me, "Oh, we love watching you watch her." And I say, "It's because I'm watching her just like you are. I don't know what she's going to do, you know." And so
I'm his biggest fan too. And people will say, "I watched you watch the whole show." I go, "You guys are missing the show watching this." But we both are just cheerleaders for each other. And
real quickly, in answer to the question about what am I doing, the 3 things that I'm involved in now is they're all writing. Writing my memoirs. I'm writing a one-man theater piece that I hope to get to New York. Wow. And now there's talk about a documentary on not just me, but my mom and dad coming together during the war.
Yeah.
What they did, what they couldn't do, how that influenced me, where I've come from there. So those are the 3 big projects. And writing songs. I'm writing songs every day. You know?
And you, Kelly?
I want to do a show like Ed Bernstein has.
Oh, you've done that.
I have done something like
we
that.
both have done it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Sort of interview stuff.
But I might. I'm talking to Damien Costa about doing a live semi-variety show. You know, and I actually have a meeting tomorrow. So I want to do the whole thing where I interview a little bit and then do a little music, maybe some characters. And involve the other entertainers.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, we can catch you over at the Composer's Room.
Every Thursday.
The Clint over at the Smith Center.
Myron is May 9th. Yeah.
Right, and who else? Anywhere else. New York, Monte Carlo, anywhere, right? Hey,
New York next week.
Thank you both very much for
Thank you for having me.
getting
Just
up early
flew
and
by.
coming here.
It's really good to see you. And it was great. We ran into each other. I told you the shopping.
You guys shopping.
In
the dressing room.
In the dressing room. Well, not.
It's a secret.
Yeah, it's a secret. that part's a secret.
We'll see you next week.
That old black man had been in spell.
That old black magic country we've so